Hi, and welcome to this installment of Frank and Mary here in Westborough. If you haven't seen the show before, my name is Art Bergeron. I'm an elder law attorney. My day job, I work at Myrick O'Connell, also offices here in Westborough. There are about 20 of us here. And I do nothing but elder law, but the goal of this show is not to talk about law, but rather my friends Frank and Mary. If you've seen my presentations before, you know that Frank and Mary's goal in life is to live in their house until they die and be buried in the backyard. And in Westborough, that means they want to stay right here. They don't want to move away, meet with their kids. They don't want to go to Hawaii. They want to be here. So the question is, who do you need to know? People like the folks that we've got today, and what programs you need to know about while you're here so that you can be connected in Westborough and kind of know what's going on and kind of adjust your lives accordingly. So my co-host, most of you do know, and that's my friend Shelby Marshall, who's been a selectman now for, God, 2 years, something, a long time, right?
Yeah,
I can tell you're starting to age. I don't see any gray hair yet, but you're starting to age. So, and so she knows everybody. So she invites these great guests, including the one that we have today that we've seen before, but last time it was live. So please forgive us. We're all zooming around today. So Shelby, whom do we have today?
Yes. Good morning, Arthur. Great to see you as always. Today's guest is our Superintendent of Schools, Amber Bock. Amber, welcome back to Frank and Mary.
Thank you. I'm so excited that you guys invited me to come and talk.
Yeah, well, so Amber certainly is not a stranger to the screen, particularly these days. She has been a regular guest on Westborough TV. She actually recently went through a Ask the Superintendent or Ask Amber, I can't remember what it was called, by Karen Henderson, and Amber sat down for, I think it was like 2.5 hours of a Q&A session, where Amber was sort of said, ask me any question that the community has sent in about the reopening of schools. So there was a recent meeting on Monday by the school committee where a vote was taken. I thought it was timely to have Amber on the show. Many of our viewers may have watched that meeting, but really felt like, we always talk about issues that are relevant to Frank and Mary, but Frank and Mary may also be raising grandkids who are going through the schools, and they may or may not be watching that school committee meeting. So wanted to have Amber come and talk to our viewers today about what are the things that Frank and Mary need to know if they've got kids that are they're preparing to return to school. So Amber, welcome. So good to have you.
Thank you. And I just want to acknowledge, too, we do have such a vibrant group of Frank and Mary type citizens living in Westborough who are either caring and supporting children who live in Westborough or in other districts around the nation or in the area. So I'm certainly a representative superintendent for you today to talk about the things you're wondering about when you're thinking about your children, your grandchildren, and, you've got your children who are under stress because they're going to be sending their children back to school and they might be calling you, and how do you support them, as well as really thinking about wherever your grandchildren are. I can answer questions related to kind of both Westborough, but how the public school systems are really trying to be supportive to come back safely. So I would certainly take your guiding questions, Shelby and Arthur, the things you think are relevant, and give kind of an overview that I think represents near and far for your citizens that are watching.
Great. Excellent. Well, let's start with the most basic, which is if you could bring everyone up to speed with the vote that was taken on Monday and where we stand, and in your answer, how the reopening will look for the first couple of weeks.
Sure. So like many districts in Massachusetts, the focus that we have is to return students to school in a hybrid model of instruction. And that is basically lowering the overall number of students that come to school on any given day into smaller groups. So we basically took the complete student body and broke them in half, and they come on alternative days. So students are working some days away, further away at home settings or care settings. They might be with a grandparent during the day, and they'll be doing schoolwork that's been given to them. And then on the opposite day, they are coming into school to get in-person instruction from their teachers before they are then in another away day. Here in Westborough, we also decided that the safest and most supportive thing to do for our faculty and our families was to move slowly to kind of grade up to that hybrid model. So we introduced kind of a phased start where we're really starting remote for the first week with, so if you're a grandparent and you're caring for a child, the first week in Westborough is going to be all remote, and the teacher will be live with them, helping them warm up for the start of the year. And our goal there was really having them be able to think about building community, working without masks face to face for their teacher to introduce themselves, and to build some whole class unity before we started staging in small groups. And then the next 2 weeks moving forward, entering in with small groups of students until we reach a full hybrid model. I
Great.
think it's also important too, just to acknowledge that that's really after a lot of shared compromise and discussion with faculty and families, and we feel good about where we are.
Absolutely. So let's talk about, since the first week starts remote, one of the things we talk a lot about on Frank and Mary is technology. And the reason why we feel this show is a particular value to Frank and Mary and residents of Westborough is that it's pretty low tech, right? So you kind of turn on cable TV, maybe you do stream it from your laptop or your iPad, but it's pretty low tech. So how are the schools preparing for students on the technology aspect? And if I'm Frank and Mary and I'm like, oh God, I got all this technology to deal with to help my student, you know, how do I interact with the school? Who do I go to for help? Let's talk about that.
Yeah,
Sure.
because these people have been getting help from their kids, from those students with their technology.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
now all
Yeah.
of a sudden they're actually having to deal with this stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, if there's something that I'm immensely proud of, I'll speak about Westborough first. And then if you have a student that's far that you're supporting and you want to help the parent figure it out. Well, in Westborough, I'm immensely proud of the fact that our technology team has had a lot of direct contact with anybody who's caring for a child. We see family as anybody caring for a child. So if you're a grandparent, an aunt or an uncle, a guardian, anyone, inclusive of all, and you need our help to make sure that the person that you're caring for has access and can manage their technology, you can call the school. And you can call the school your child attends, or you can email, but calling, if that's what you're comfortable with. You can get lots of access numbers just in the phone book, and whatever works for you, and or online, and reach out to the schools, and we'll get you connected to who you need to help you answer calls and questions to get the technology working. We work virtually with you, and sometimes we can even have you come in distanced if we need to help train you. We're here to help families be successful with their students. In an away model, if you have a child, you know, you're a grown child who is trying to call you and like, Mom, this is so hard. And well, you can say, you know what, sweetie, call the school, explain your needs, and ask what kind of supports are available for you. All districts want their students to be successful. And the best thing you can do is reach out to your school and get to a technology or a secretary person that can give you some support.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, and Arthur, you made a great point. And I know is certainly the case in many households where the students are so adept at using technology that there are really few and far glitches. I think it's sometimes they're teaching the adult learner on what it is that they're doing. But when we have families that want to be supportive of their student, particularly with those at-home learning days, when they're not in the classroom, families want to be engaged and understand where their student is and how to help them progress through the curriculum.
Exactly. Don't struggle alone. You know, a lot of times we can get somebody on the call with you who will interact with the student and you to figure it out.
So let's transition a little bit to safety, because this applies to those that are here in Westborough as well as those who may be caring for a grandchild who is in a neighboring town who's going back to school. So how is Westborough handling kind of the safety for both, obviously faculty, but families? So let's talk, masks, hand washing, all those practices. I know there's a whole manual about it that's been developed and a consultant that was involved.
Yeah, there's so many layers here. You know, if you are somebody who is caring for a child, or of course, all of us as loving families have people across an age spectrum. We all have aunts and uncles and family that are older that we want to protect. And if in those listening to the show, you're thinking about, will I be able to see my grandchild more once they're back in a school setting? Does that increase my risk, and how? And then also, what are the ways that the schools are working? So you want to understand what's going on at the school so that you feel safe to continue the interactions you've been able to establish in your family. Everything about this work is centered on working collaboratively together to set up a bunch of different mitigating factors. It's a set of cleaning protocols. It's having fewer people in the hybrid model. It's spacing people out appropriately. It's mask wearing appropriately and at the right times. It's making sure that the sanitation and hygiene available is very well planned, as well as then setting up instructional models where we can have personal but appropriate time with students while maintaining everybody's risk as low as possible, so that we're sending you home a child that we think can return home and with the proper hand washing and mask wearing, come home safely to you and be able to continue interacting. We really have in-depth protocols. We have ordered thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of protective equipment, masks as backups. Families are supposed to send their child with a mask that they're comfortable with, they feel good in, and we can make sure it meets general criteria, that it fits well, and that it does the proper level of protection. If a child needs a mask, we'll provide it. We'll have backups at school. We have gloves available for the protocols when they're needed, and a ton of sanitation guidelines to make sure that our buildings are clean, that surfaces are well protected. Our buses as well have a cleaning protocol between every tier of moving. Again, they're spacing no more than 25 students on a bus, spaced out, windows open, proper ventilation, and then sanitation between runs. All students on the bus will wear masks. So we really believe that the care and protection of children, families, and faculty, we've done everything we can to set up some good protocols.
Great. Just on masks, I know it was a question and I'm not sure where it stands. At one point, folks had asked about, bandanas. Are there any kind of requirements? It's probably in the rollout, but if you could just kind of let folks know, give our Frank and Mary some guidance as to what their kids can go to school with.
Sure.
We have some Frank and Mary masks, by the way. If seniors
oh, do I want one? I
Yeah.
want one.
But they've got little, but it's their picture, but they've got little.
Do you have a mug though?
You have a mug too, right?
I think now that I'm returning from my second visit and would like to be a regular, that you should, maybe get me some gear. So in terms of the mask wearing, there's evolving protocols and some early mask studies. And again, we're using the Board of Health as our guiding anchor with the best guidance, and we will follow it. Also, the discussion around, I think we would encourage not wearing bandanas, but we won't turn away a child who comes to school. We might upgrade their mask choice and say, we're going to provide a couple masks for you. Here's one that's a better choice. A bandana leaves the bottom open, and we really would prefer you not do that. Sure. The discussion around gaiters is evolving, and Westborough Public Schools hasn't finalized their discussion on that. I think that the protocol is best mask is kind of that surgical fit kind of mask. But we're also trying to be as flexible as possible as long as we feel it meets those key protocols. We definitely will not encourage bandana wearing. It's not protective enough, but we'll make sure that all the handbooks and guidance to families is clear. No child will be turned away from school ever in Westborough. We will give them what they need to attend school safely and make sure that it's done respectfully and with care.
Great.
So Shelby, can I just ask a couple of things kind of related to this?
It's sort of your show too.
No, but I know this is really interesting. I guess I think these are kind of related questions. So one, you would just refer to the kind of people being safe at home. Can you talk about the testing that might be required of kids before they come to school, about any testing that's going to be occurring at school, those things? Sure. And then the kind of related question, I think we've already seen kind of at the college level, some people had started opened up, and then things started going south, and so the people were retracing their steps to some extent. Mm-hmm. Can you just talk about how I'm sure you've anticipated that, and how you're thinking about what those criteria would be regarding what continues to be safe? And then if it gets less safe, then what do you do?
Sure. Let me answer that and we'll kind of work backwards and make sure, just nudge me, Arthur, if I drop one of those questions. So we had to design a series of opening models so that we could move seamlessly in and out of different ones. So we would go from hybrid to full remote should disease indicators at the state level or the town level or a building level move us in that direction. And we have a set of benchmark data points that we'll be tracking daily and making sure that they're available at the Board of Health level and transparently with families as well, so that they know we're all invested in this and working as a team. And should we need to switch protocols from hybrid to fully remote, would do so with the guidance of the Board of Health and the school committee working in tandem. So the model is designed to be fluid as needed. I just want to comment on some of the differences, and I'm not judging the college settings, and I think they're all working to do the best they can. I think we all are. I just want to be clear that the colleges have large gatherings of students in unsupervised settings and living together in unsupervised settings and in large groups in ways that schools do not. And I think that the circumstances are different. And we think that the implementation of the school-based level is very different. It's just a much more controlled environment. We all know that college is a highly social environment. And as adults, they are guiding their time with their own expectations. And I think that's the challenge that colleges are working with. We have handbooks, protocols, and a lot more controlled environment just by the nature of the age and how public school runs. So I think it's different, but certainly we have to be as nimble and responsive. And then you asked something else
about testing, about how testing plays into any of this.
Yeah, so we'll follow the guidelines set by the Mass guidelines for travel, testing, quarantining. There's a whole set of implementation protocols for how to respond for both students and faculty. Should there be a case, symptoms, there's protocols for all of it. And we apply the testing protocol against those other, like we're not doing particularly public schooling, and many colleges haven't moved at a mass testing approach, but symptomatic or related to travel. So, for example, I traveled to Ohio for family matters and returned and did my test and submitted it to the Board of Health. I did my drive-in test and supported the Board of Health, and then could unquarantine. That's really the protocol we'll follow. I think certainly this summer, as an example, Arthur, we ran a distanced summer school program, and we had several students and then a couple of faculty who got tested, all came back negative, and we used it applied against symptomatic or exposure questions or concerns. And then the testing was applied, the quarantine was put in place, and in all cases that was all negative. So that's how we plan on approaching the testing. If we got something different guidelines wise from the Board of Health, we would change that protocol. But I think they're pleased with the plan right now.
Boy, that's just a ton of work. That's just a ton of work. So yeah, thank you for that. And now, Shelby, I know we're a little close on time. If you got any final questions, and then I'd like you to talk for a few minutes about whom you're anticipating next week. And it's just wonderful to see Amber Bock again.
Yeah, absolutely. So Amber, just one quick question regarding curriculum. So just my understanding is regular curriculum, regular grades, all of that. The expectation is that this is a full learning year, but where we're learning is the difference between traditional experience.
Yes, you've said it well. That is exactly right. Regular bell day schedule, full curriculum, and typical grading expectations that match Westborough Public Schools. That's true across all of Massachusetts. If you have a grandchild who's being educated in Massachusetts, that's the expectation for all districts. And whether a child is working close or far, in person or independently, they will have a full day schedule supported with instructional planning.
So
Right.
even if the grandchild tells the grandparent, I'm on pass fail now.
No, they have a full day, and again, don't suffer
And
alone.
5 days.
If you are a caregiver of someone who's school aged and you need our support, you call and speak with the school, and we'll give you what you need in terms of information. But full school day, bell to bell.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I was just thinking about how all the college grades are going to go up now because of the limitations, but that's for a different show. So
That's a whole different show.
I might have done better if I were going to college in COVID.
Because you had to stay in. That's right, exactly.
All right, well, let's just transition. Amber, stay on, but we're going to just transition. Quick update. Our next week's guest on Frank and Mary will be yet another returning guest. We all know her, Kelly Petralia, who's the executive director of Westborough Connects. She's going to come on and talk about a new program Westborough Connects is organizing. It's a pen pal program, and it's intended to connect those that are 50 to 69 with those who are 70 and above in a traditional pen pal kind of program. And so, Arthur, we've talked about the isolation that COVID has brought on. Love the program, love the idea. They're looking for participants. So Kelly will tell us all about that. So very excited to have her back on.
I'm so excited to be a pen pal. I can hardly wait.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, Arthur, see, you and I could be pen pals too.
That's right. I'm old enough.
I can't. Sorry. I'm just bringing the program to you. Sorry. I also just want to call attention to at last night's Board of Selectmen meeting. We had a great presentation. It starts right at the beginning of the meeting, so you don't even have to scroll through to find it. But CMRCP, which is Central Mass Regional Planning, came and presented the Municipal Vulnerability Grant program, which is all about climate resiliency and preparedness. Our viewers may be very interested in watching it. It was probably about 45 minutes, but talked about the work that the town has done to become a certified town. 85% of Massachusetts cities and towns are certified through this program. And by becoming certified, we are eligible for grants that will help to do things like prepare for bad weather, repair culverts, address flooding, etc. So our viewers may be interested in watching that in particular. And also of interest, our town clerk talked about the upcoming town elections and all the work that they are doing, which is just a tremendous amount, given state primaries, early voting, mail-in voting, etc. And I would direct folks to go to our website or call the town clerk's office if you have any questions. One thing I learned is that if you are doing mail-in voting, you can actually go on to our town website and check to see if your vote has been received once you actually do vote. So I didn't realize that tracking was in process for those that were worried about the integrity of the system. It was certainly reassurance from what I heard. We will be having a special town meeting, and the date of fall town meeting is to be determined, but we're leaning toward an early November date, but more to come on that.
And I think, once again, we've really tried to morph this show into being about senior issues, but also about issues that seniors are concerned about. So I'm sure that we'll be seeing folks between now and that special town meeting regarding issues that you think, Shelby, are really of concern, so that folks can stay tuned. So thank you so much, Shelby, for doing this, for bringing great people like Amber Bock. It's the way that I met Amber Bock was through you. Thank you very much, Amber, for coming back. And we'll get you a mug, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the future. Folks, thank you very much for watching. We hope you're enjoying these shows. And we'll see you in next week in the next episode of Frank and Mary here in Westborough. Thank you very much.
Bye.